Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Suzanne and Sarah YouTube channel. I'm Suzanne.
And I'm Sarah.
And today we're going to talk to you about house hacking in 5 easy steps. So we'll talk about pros and cons, what to look for in a house hack, and how to get started with your first house hack. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Suzanne and Sarah YouTube channel. I'm Suzanne Moore.
And I'm Sarah Willis. We are Central Oregon's investment and real estate experts.
So, as I said, I'm Suzanne Moore. I'm a realtor in the Bend, Oregon area with Realty One Group Discovery.
Yep, and I'm Sarah Willis, and I'm also a realtor in beautiful Bend, Oregon. We are a team, and we do these videos once a week, and we also have a QR code here for you that we'd like you to hold your phone up and snap, and also follow the link, give us your contact information, and this will get you on our list to receive a weekly email from us with our top picks for Ben's best deals. And you can also join us for a monthly investor meetup that we do virtually with different topics once a month.
Awesome.
Yeah, so Suzanne went over this a little bit, but our agenda today, we're going to be talking all about house hacking. We're going to give you a definition of exactly what it is, a few examples of what a house hack might look like, talk about the pros and cons, and then, part of house hacking is becoming a landlord, and give you the 5 steps on how to start.
Sweet. Let's dive in. So, what is house hacking? We've heard about it. It's all over Bigger Pockets. You may have friends that are interested in house hacking or have done it already. We're going to define it for you here. So essentially house hacking is life hacking, but for your housing expenses. So your housing expense is your most expensive line item on any budget, right? And in a lot of areas, housing has gotten really expensive, and it has made it almost impossible for some people to even buy properties and their first homes. So the idea behind house hacking is really to save money by renting out part of your house. So you buy a house, you rent out a room, a space, a level, a garage, whatever, and essentially, other people help pay off your mortgage. It can also be something more like multi-generational living. So inviting aging parents to live with you, inviting adult children to live with you, and having them contribute to the cost of home ownership. And really, the whole goal behind it is to offset or completely eliminate your number one expense, which is housing.
Yeah. So step number 1 in, getting yourself into a house hack, you're definitely going to need to address financing. And what's unique about house hacking is that it's an investment, and it's a way for you to become a landlord and have renters without typically the large costs that come along with financing second homes or investment properties. A bank will look at this as a primary residence. So you can finance a house hack property with a conventional loan. In many cases, FHA, VA loans also qualify. So how this benefits you is you're going to have a lower down payment, or you have the option to have a lower down payment, anywhere between 0% or $0 down if you qualify for a VA loan, or FHA loans and conventional loans. You can put as little as 3 to 3.5% down. Of course, once again, there are kind of pros and cons that come along with that, paying anywhere less than 20% down. But house hacking is all about access and eliminating that barrier to entry for expensive housing. So getting a lender as your guide on your side, they're going to be able to tell you exactly how much you can afford and when you can start to house shop. The other great thing about house hacking is that you can use potential rental income to help you qualify for for the loan itself. So you can use up to 75% of your projected rental income towards your income. And that will help you qualify for a larger, more expensive home than you might be able to otherwise qualify for.
Yep. And you do that knowing that someone else is going to help you pay that mortgage. All right, let's talk about the pros and cons of house hacking. So we talked about the big one already. The biggest pro of house hacking is offsetting your mortgage, getting someone else to either help pay for it or pay for it completely. The second one is passive income. Maybe you rent out enough spaces in your house that you are actually making money on top of whatever your mortgage payment is. So you're paying that whole thing off every month, and then you're pocketing a few $100. That's pretty awesome, right? Reduce utility costs. So instead of paying the entire electric bill, the entire gas bill, the entire Wi-Fi bill yourself, you're sharing that among other people. So it defrays your cost. We already talked about that lower down payment opportunity. If you're buying a home as your primary residence, even if you're planning to rent out part of it, you can put down 0 to 3%, which will save you some cash. Tax deductions, there's always great tax incentives to real estate investors. So make sure you have someone on your side, a tax advice person, an accountant, to help you understand what exactly you can deduct. And then it's a great way to get early landlord and investing experience. So maybe you're not quite ready to, dive right in and buy a full-blown rental for, just tenants to live in, but this will give you firsthand experience of what it means to be a landlord, how to do it, and what it's like to invest. And then finally, I think the other cool thing about house hacking is you have built-in community. So you've got, people around you, whether they're living in your space or they're in an accessory dwelling unit or something like that, but you've got people around, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. So after the pros, there's also cons. So this is, ultimately this is a business venture. So you want to look at this with a scrutinous eye. So definitely want to consider some of the negatives too. Play your own devil's advocate. So, I look at house hacking as, a great opportunity for, first-time home buyers, potentially maybe some younger buyers. So things to consider is, are you comfortable having people living in your space? Are you single? Are you childless? That it's a different dynamic if, you've got family. So that's just something you need to consider where you are in your life, basically. So people living in your space is potentially one con, but also it could be a pro too, as we looked at it. It just kind of depends on the lens you're looking at it, because it could be seen as built-in community. Roommate dynamics. So again, like, where are you in your life? Like, are you in a position where having a roommate is something that you're willing to deal with or not? These are just all personal questions you kind of have to ask yourself. So, we said, reduced utility costs on the pros, because they're shared expense, but on the flip side of the coin, there's going to be higher utility costs also, because there's more people using resources, right? Parking issues. That's something common in, smaller neighborhoods. Like, is it only on-street parking? Do you have a garage space? Do you have a driveway? Is there enough parking to house the number of, functioning working adults that you have in your house that you will have living there? Dealing with tenants. So again, you are automatically becoming a landlord. So you are having to, collect rent, collect, utility costs. Not everybody always shows up, the way they say they're going to. So you may be in a position where you have to evict someone. Are you willing to deal with that? Extra noise and mess. Again, you're responsible for yourself, but you aren't responsible for others. And, are you ready to set expectations and, deal with other people's stuff? So added wear and tear. So you've got extra people living in your house, extra things happening to, your flooring and your plumbing and everything else. So that's just, going to contribute to depreciation and extra upkeep that you have to do on your home. And then potentially unhappy neighbors. There are definitely some situations where neighbors don't love renters, because there's this perception that, there's maybe less care in the way people take care of the property, and they're not long term there. So, again, just that's where becoming a good landlord really comes into play here, and the choice that you make with the people that you invite to live in your house with you.
Great points. Yes. All right, now we're going to talk about what to look for when you're looking for a house hack. And the reason that we want to be explicit about this is that house hacks look different than just the traditional home that you would buy to just live in by yourself or with your family, right? You're looking for something different because you want to have a different experience, which is having someone else offset your mortgage. So you're looking for things like a multifamily property where you can live in one unit and rent out the other units so that someone else pays some or part of your mortgage. So that could be, a multifamily property is a duplex, a triplex, a fourplex, anything beyond that, obviously. So that is one option, and that's kind of the most common option for house hacking. There are other great ideas and ways to make this happen, though. You could buy a bigger house than you really need and convert some underutilized space like a basement, a garage, a bonus room into a separate unit so that someone else can live there and pay you rent. Or if you got some extra cash on hand or you're super handy, you could build an ADU, an accessory dwelling unit, or a tiny house on your property and rent that out to somebody. So then you're not even having shared walls. That's also one advantage. Another option for house hacking is just simply getting roommates who pay to share your space. And finally, you can also rent out your property, meaning your driveway, your yard, to people in vans, RVs, and campers. So there's lots of ways to do this, totally different things to look for. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to another slide.
So, you are out there searching for a home, your lender has given you, a price point to be searching at. You find, a house or multiple houses that you think might work for your house hacking deal. And this is when you start to really analyze the numbers. Again, this is a business. We're not going strictly on emotion here. We're definitely letting the numbers tell us what's a smart decision and not. So this is a whole nother topic that we dive into in other videos and other blogs. So we're not going to go into deep analysis here, but the most important metrics to keep in mind here are your cash flow, your cash on cash return, your net operating income, and your cap rate. And this might sound like some foreign language right here, but the most important thing to consider is your overall return on investment. So you're definitely going to just want to consider your expenses and your income and do some simple math. But this is where you bring on having experienced investment real estate agents like Suzanne and myself, and have us on your team to help you run the numbers and study what's a good deal and what's not.
Yes. So now let's talk about a little bit more of what to look for in house hacking. So we talked about, what your search is, but these are some of the things that will distinguish these properties and really make them jump out at you when you're searching in a sea of listings in, various markets. So you're really looking for spaces that can be easily separated, or where you can make a separate entrance for another person. You're looking for those underutilized spaces like a garage with plumbing even, or a basement that can be converted. You're looking for a property that already has an ADU or accessory dwelling unit on it. Maybe it's got a little cottage with a kitchenette or something, that you can utilize to then rent out. You're also looking for a place that has lots of parking. And this goes back to what Sarah said earlier about keeping your neighbors happy. Neighbors are happy when people are not parking in front of their houses. So finding a place with lots of parking is going to really help with your neighborhood relations. Flexible zoning is also going to be important too if you're looking to do something like we talked about with, renting out your property to campers or RVs or vans, or adding an accessory dwelling unit. These are all things that the city or county is going to likely regulate, and you're going to want to make sure that you're in compliance with or understand, at the very least, those zoning laws. And then finally, another way to keep your expenses low is to have separate utility meters. So, then you're only paying for what you're using, and other people are paying their own electric, their own gas, water, sewer. Sometimes those are not as easily able to be separated, like water, sewer. But certainly a great way to just keep everything separate and easy for everyone to understand.
Keeping those things separate keeps people happy. So, okay, so you find the home, it's a good deal, you know that it's going to work for your finances, and you get to closing day. So a few other factors to just take into consideration in terms of budgeting and finances is that here in Central Oregon, we usually factor in about 2% for closing costs. And those fees include things like fees paid to escrow, fees that you're paying the bank for your loan and for the appraisal, title insurance, and then escrow also typically keeps an account for you to help pay for annual taxes and insurance for your property. So you're just going to want to factor in 2% of your purchase price for that in your budget. And then once you've closed, it's time to get to work making your home ready for renters. So this cost is going to vary greatly depending on whether you found a place that's rental ready, turnkey. You can just start to market it and advertise it, ready to go. Or if it's a place that you need to put up a dividing wall or build an additional unit. But the end goal is to have, 2 self-sufficient places with a kitchenette and a bathroom and a sleeping space for each renter. Now, a kitchenette can look, it just needs, a sink, some plumbing, and you can even just throw, a convection, top on, a countertop. You don't need a full oven necessarily. You just need something that makes people self-sufficient. And then, you've got extra wear and tear in your house. You've got people living there besides yourself that don't necessarily have the same attention to detail that you would in your own home. So you're going to want to budget for annual maintenance and capital expenditure costs. So again, this is another, 2 to 4% that we like to advise our clients to, hold over or budget for in order just to maintain their property and keep things in good working order for their tenants, heating, of course, things like heating and just all the life safety elements that are important to keeping people comfortable. So,
and now, like we talked about earlier, one of the advantages of house hacking is getting some early landlording experience. So chances are maybe for your first house hack, you're renting out a space to your friends. So just keep that scenario in mind that maybe your situation may not be, but first off, you got to market that rental. Where are you going to market it? Well, you're going to probably market it on some websites, and you're going to want to make sure you have really good photos, good description, and make sure that you've also researched rents so you know what to charge. You want to provide everyone with clear screening criteria. So this essentially tells them what it takes to qualify to live in your property. And you must screen your tenants, even if they're friends, especially if they're friends. Make sure you know their situation, do a background check, do a credit check, check references. If it's a friend, you probably have enough reference, but make sure that you know enough about your tenants to make an informed decision. So once you've decided on a tenant, you want to make sure you've got a super solid lease agreement. That's something that your real estate professional can advise you on places where to look for those that comply with your local landlord-tenant laws. You want to clarify all of your terms and expectations so everyone knows what's expected, especially if you are sharing living space, so more in a roommate situation. Definitely want to have clarity there. And then you're going to also want to collect security deposits and pet deposits. So those are things that help cover any damages that happen while the person is living there. You want to set up systems for collecting rent. There's tons of great ways to do this, online, free, automated, from your tenant's bank account to yours. You can also take checks. There's other ways to collect rent, but just make sure you know how you're going to do it. And make sure, like we already said, make sure you know the tenant laws for your area. This is so important, especially if you're going to be your own landlord and not hire a property manager. You need to at least know what the general landlord-tenant laws are, what your rights are, what your tenant rights are. You want to communicate in writing, meaning email, text. I would recommend email mostly. And it's always a good idea to know a real estate attorney, and hopefully you never have to use them, but at least you've got a number to call and someone to advise you if you do.
Great advice. Yeah, so, we're wrapping up here. We all know housing is expensive, and what we're trying to explain to you is that house hacking is a way to make it more affordable. You are considering becoming a real estate investor, and this is an easy way, a low barrier to entry way to get into it. As we've discussed, using potential rental income is a way to increase your purchasing power. And you can potentially get into your first home sooner. So home ownership is a big end goal here. You've been renting for a long time, but you might as well be putting that rent into your own financial freedom and equity in the long term. So the big end goals here, you are getting into your own home, you are your own home owner. And then you can use your rents to, put more towards your mortgage potentially than what your payment actually is, and you can pay down your mortgage faster. And what happens if you're putting more towards your mortgage on a monthly basis than the bank requires is you actually end up paying less over the life of the loan. You're reducing the overall interest that you pay over, the life of your loan. And you're building equity faster. So, homes are, again, one of the easiest things to leverage for future investments. And when you're building equity faster, that means that you have, essentially more in a savings account that you are living in. And if you enjoy what you're doing with this house hacking thing and having this passive income, you can use your current house and then income from that to save and get into your next investment property.
Yes. So what is next? What is next? You just learned a ton about house hacking, what it is, how to do it, 5 easy steps to get started. But the first step is to decide to do this. You've got to decide that this is something that's important to you and you're going to take action. So you got to decide to do it. Then you got to find some good realtors. There's some great ones if you're in the Central Oregon area, or if you're looking for investor-minded realtors anywhere in the country, we can connect you to them so that you can build out your team of lenders, contractors, tax professionals, and financial advisors, real estate attorneys if you need them, so that you can have this team ready to go for house hacking and for whatever real estate investments you have next. So the third step is to take action, and we will be with you every step of the way.
Thank you, Suzanne. And we appreciate you guys watching this video. We do these once a week, and we hope that you like this video and subscribe, and we will look forward to seeing you in the next one.
Thank you, everyone.